Okay, in a previous video, we talked about creating group policies. And one of the things we talked about is you can have multiple group policies attached to a single OU. You have inheritance of OUs. Let me go and open up my group policy console here. Group policy management. Okay, so we can have in each of these OUs, we can have multiple group policies linked. We can have a single group policy linked to multiple places. We have group policy inheritance. We have group policy enforcement, which can enforce an override of something, inheritance being disabled or something being reset. We can have security filtering that filters the policy to only apply to people in specific groups. So there's a ton of variability and flexibility with it, which is cool. But once you get so much of it, it becomes very hard to see what policy is actually being applied and to see how things are actually functioning. Trying to troubleshoot a group policy when you don't know exactly where it's at, if you've got a bunch of policies and a bunch of links, becomes really, really problematic. So Microsoft has created a tool for us called the Group Policy Modeling Wizard, and that's right here. Now, the modeling wizard lets us create a what-if scenario. What if this user logged onto this computer, what policies would be applied? Or what if somebody in this OU logged into a computer in this OU? So using that, it will tell us, well, you know what, let's just dive in and see, because this is going to be super useful. So I'm going to right-click and go to my Group Policy Modeling Wizard. Now, had I done run the modeling wizard before, that's what would show up here. But I haven't, so I'm going to go to my Group Policy Modeling Wizard, and I'm going to click Next. Okay, Group Policy Domain Selection. Which domain controller, in this hypothetical scenario, which domain controller would have been the one that they authenticated to? And we can specify a specific domain controller, or we can say, you know what, just this one or any available. So this domain controller is where I specify which one I want. Give me any available. I don't care. Where's our user going to be located? So I can do one of two things here. I can select a user. Let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to browse, and I want to find the user. I think Scott was the user that we wanted. Let me do a check name. Nope, it's not Scott. All right. Time to... Let's go to right here. I'm going to find my username, Tools, Active Directory, Users and Computers, and I want somebody in sales, Steve. That's why it didn't work. So let's come back to my Group Policy Modeling Wizard. There we go. And let me look for Steve. So let's say Steve, okay, logs into a computer, and this is where we'd set the computer. Now, I don't have a specific computer account. I haven't added any computers to this domain yet, so I'm going to pick a container. And I'm going to say, let's say they logged into just a computer that's in the computers folder. Now, I could pick, actually, let me go ahead. So he's in sales. Let me go ahead and say he logged into a computer that we've added to the sales. I'm going to click OK, and next. All right, now we have a bunch of different pages here that give us a ton of options, and notice right here we have this, just skip to the final page without collecting any additional data. Most of the time that's going to be fine, but I want to walk you through some of the options just so you can see what they are. So hypothetically, let's say we had a slow network connection. How would that impact it? What if we had loopback processing enabled? Remember, loopback processing allows you to take settings that would normally be applied to a computer and associate them with a user when the user logs in. So you go into the computer settings, you set it, you enable loopback processing. Okay, do I want to enable that? Yes or no? Is there a specific site that they logged into? Do I care about that? What's the user location? So we've kind of already set that, but this would say, hey, let's say they went to a new location. What would that happen? So Steve is currently here. What happens if he moved to another OU? Then what would that look like? And so that's what this page is about. What if they were part of a different group? Remember, we can do security filtering based on groups. So I can add or remove them hypothetically from a specific group. And this is one of the cool things about this modeling wizard, is I can run the modeling wizard with what currently is. Steve is where he is. He's in the group that he's in, whatever. Or I can run a hypothetical. let's say I added Steve to this group, I moved him to this OU, then what would it look like? So very, very useful for troubleshooting and anticipating problems. What if the computer is in a group? Well, this is where we would set the computer group. Are we using any WMI filters? No, we're not. What WMI filters for users? What about WMI filters for computers? So if we enable any filtering, what would that look like? And then we get here to these specify the selection. Now, I didn't set a lot of these changes, so they show up here as nope, 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 which is fine because I just want to see what happens if Steve logs into a computer. And I'm going to click next. And so this is going to create a simulation for me. And it's going to look at all the policies that would be applied. And it's going to build me a report based on those policies. So I'm going to click finish. And here is S. Hartman on sales. So now if I come up here, you'll see I have this built in, which is great. It saves it so I can go in and look at it in the future. If I decide I'm done with it, I can right click, I can rerun the query. Okay, I made some changes, let me rerun the query, see if he still has the same thing, or I can get rid of it. So I want to go ahead and look at my report. And here's the summary information, the computer details. Here is the settings that we are looking for. So let me go ahead and collapse some of these other ones that I don't care about. Oops, I didn't mean to collapse that all the way. Let's go ahead and collapse our summary. Let's expand our computer details and just look at some policies. So we have some security settings. So here it is, policies, Windows settings, security settings that apply to our computer. And so we click here and it's going to give us basically our password policy. So let me look at my account policies. We've got password, we've got the account lockout, Kerberos. All right, let me look at my password policies. So I'm going to click show. And it's going to tell me the password policy that's going to be applied to him. Now, this tells us what's actually going to be applied. This is what counts. But right here, it tells me my winning GPO. And that winning GPO is the GPO that established this setting. And that becomes really useful because now if I need to change this, I know where I can go. I can go to the winning GPO. Or I can go to put a GPO below that and try to override the setting, whichever way I need to. Same thing with our users. I'm going to hide my user details and my component status. And here under my settings, I have some administrative templates. And I click on my show, and we're controlling their Control-Alt-Delete options and the removable storage access. And so I show those. Those are my policy settings, and here's my winning GPO. It's my user restrictions policy that set that. So now I know exactly what should be applied to him in this scenario. I know exactly what should be applied to that user on that computer, and I can use this to help troubleshoot any problems that I think I might be having due to group policy settings. Remember, group policy settings, when you change them, don't take effect immediately. The user needs to run, or you need to run for them, GP update /force to make sure that everything gets updated. Then you can rerun the policy. If you think, hey, I changed this just a couple of minutes ago, well, we can run, actually, for that one, we should probably pick it up anyway, because we're running a theoretical model. So it should be based on that, on what you just changed a couple of minutes ago. But if the user doesn't see that, then you can have the user or run GP update force, and that should update the policies to what this says. Okay, so that is my group policy modeling wizard. When I am done with it, I'm done with this particular report. I don't need it anymore. I can right click and delete the report. That way, you can keep as many as you want, or you can clean them out, just depending on the particular project that you are working on at that moment.